So, how are you guys disciplined as a child? Well, that's a really loaded question, but for the most part, the answer is a lot of people were spanked. According to a survey conducted by ABC News, 50% of parents admit to spanking their child at one point in time. That means half of this class was spanked as a child. Coming from a family of four, or of six, with two sisters and a brother, at different ages, we were all raised in different worlds. My sister, who's 23, was spanked as a child, whereas me, my brother and my sister at ages of 19, 11, and 8 weren't spanked as children. And now comparing my parents' disciplinary techniques and extensive research, like, I've come to the conclusion that spanking is not the correct way to raise a child. Although I don't know how to raise a child, I've never had a child, researchers have come to the conclusion that spanking is not the correct way to raise children, and I agree. Throughout this speech, I will first discuss why spanking is a problem, then why the effects it has on children later in life, and then finally, I'm going to talk about the possible solutions for spanking. Spanking has been a really hotly debated topic for a long time, but research now has come to the conclusion that spanking has problems and effects that we can't even imagine. So according to the Time International Magazine study, it was conducted by community health professor Caitlyn, that children that were spanked at age 5 or 3 were 50% more aggressive by the age 5. Being negatively reinforced as a child teaches them that aggression is a way to solve their problems, and that's not how a child should be raised. Also, according to Holly Pesner in Scholastic Parent and Child magazine, mild spanking by a mother at age 5 will lead to higher levels of aggression by age 9, and regularly corporal punishment by a father causes the child's vocabulary to suffer. So spanking not only affects the behavior of the child, but it also affects the vocabulary development in a child for the future. Okay. So another reason why spanking is a really debatable subject is because of one question: when is enough enough? There's a very fine line between disciplinary action and child abuse, and so for the most part, spanking occurs out of parents' aggression or frustration, not always towards discipline. So, according to Wells and Turner of Law Now, studies show that most child abuse cases start from parents who are just trying to punish or spank their child for something that they have done wrong. And 2/3 of the parents who admit to starting their constant abuse due to trying to punish the child. When parents punish their children and spank them, I don't really think they understand the true effect it has on them. So I'm going to dig a little bit deeper into the effects on what spanking has on children. So once contact is made, the child automatically thinks, what have I done wrong? And for the most part, the parents will say, it's because we love you, we're doing it for your own good. But with children, they will then start to, when they grow up, they'll start to seek relationships with partners that are aggressive or abusive, because that's what they associate love with. And spanking also goes hand in hand with low self-esteem in children. So, according to Wells and Turner Law Now, research suggests that children who have dealt with or experienced violence like spanking usually have trouble trusting people and forming intimate relationships with peers. Also, according to researchers at the University of Manitoba in Canada and medicallydaily.com, people who are disciplined physically have a higher probability of acquiring mental disorders. About 2 out of every 7% of mental disorders were linked to physical punishment. So, out of the people that were conducted in the survey that admitted to being spanked, they are more susceptible to mood and personality disorders, depression, drug abuse, and alcohol dependency. So now that I've talked about the effects, I'm going to discuss possible solutions. So according to Dr. Laura, there are a few very effective ways to discipline your child without spanking them. The 3 disciplinary techniques she gives are the calm down area, the problem solving method, and the timing technique. I was not raised in any of these disciplinary techniques, but when I was raised, I had timeouts, which is, I think everyone knows what a timeout is. You take the kid away from everything that they might want to do, no toys, no interaction, and when they finally calm down, you try to teach them their lesson. But however, experts now are starting to suggest the timing technique, which is when you take the child, you place them on your lap, you tell them they're safe, you tell them they're calm, like you wait until they're calm, and then you try to teach them their lesson with no type of distractions. So when children are disciplined with timeouts, they usually will learn very quickly that they don't want to misbehave because they don't want to be in a timeout. Because as a child, that's one of the worst things that can happen to you. So, however, this is not an immediate solution to spanking. Another possible solution is constant praise. So when a child does something right, a parent is encouraged to praise them and in hopes that they'll keep doing the right things. So if this is implemented, the problems in children will be highly decreased with vocabulary, aggression, and whatnot. Okay, so now to recap and conclude. Although spanking is not an immediate solution. Although spanking is a common practice, experts are now saying that it's the wrong way to raise your child, and I agree. So first I discussed why spanking is a problem, then I discussed the effects it has on children, and then finally I discussed possible solutions. So I know this may not apply to all of you now, but when you're looking at your kid who had just flushed your keys down the toilet, remember to take a breath. There's always another option. And remember, a happy child is a healthy child.